As busy online business owners, our time is so precious. And one of the best ways to make the most of our time is through solid systems, automations, and choosing the right platforms for our business. Today, I'm so excited to have my friend Nadiia join us. She is a Kajabi and automations expert, and she's going to talk us through everything we need to know about Kajabi, how we can save time in our business with automations, and how that can support a better client experience, as well as her story of how she got into online business and how to know if Kajabi is the right platform for you. Welcome to the Six Figure Brand Podcast, where each week we're pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to build a six-figure business as an online service provider. I'm your host, Morgan. I'm a branding expert, online agency owner, mom of two, and military spouse, and I'm obsessed with helping entrepreneurs like you understand the ins and outs of branding so that you can use it to grow your business without sacrificing your sanity. Whether you're just starting out or focused on scaling, we're diving into everything you need to build a profitable and sustainable online business. Let's get to it. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Six Figure Brand Podcast. I'm so excited to have my friend Nadiia joining us. She is a automations and Kajabi expert, which is really exciting because I also work in Kajabi, but I don't talk about it very much. And we've never talked about it on the podcast. So I'm super excited for Nadiia to tell us a little bit about her online business, kind of how she got to where she's at, and give us a little education around Kajabi and automations and how to make things faster and easier and more efficient in our businesses. So welcome, Nadiia. We're so glad to have you. Why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about how you got into online business, what your business looks like now? You have a really interesting story of how you got here, so I'm excited for our listeners to hear that.
Hi, yes, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be on the podcast today and share my story. And I love automations, so I'm super excited to talk about all things automations and Kajabi as well.
Awesome. So how did you get into this crazy online business world?
Well, a long story short, I have a background in working in the casino. I worked there for 8.5 years. And prior to that, I actually moved from Ukraine when I was in my early 20s. So that was kind of the beginning of my story. Language barrier was the huge thing. I didn't speak any English when I first got to the United States 15 years ago. And then again, spending 8.5 years at the casino, I thought that was it. And I wanted to build a career in the casino. But then something really happened that I could not even understand why this is happening to me, because that was something that just did not align with any of my thoughts, any of my goals, dreams, anything, like people that I knew. So I switched departments at the casino, and I had a horrible boss. If you guys seen the movie Horrible Bosses, you you can imagine. But it was just a very bad experience for a year and a half. And at that time, I started rethinking, okay, this is probably not the thing I want to do anymore. Although I still love going to the casino here and there, love playing cards, playing poker. But as far as the career goes, I was just thinking, no, this is probably not it. And I started thinking of possibly, start a new career. And I started thinking, what if I just stay home? I started dreaming of not necessarily stay-at-home mom, but just being able to work from home. And that was right before COVID. So, it was just booming, all of the online courses and everything. And I'm like, okay, this could be something that I could be interested in. And my also background goes a little bit in tech. I love working with computers. I'm pretty tech savvy. So I just started exploring different things and started taking courses here and there. And at that time, I also got pregnant with my second child, which just ended up being a blessing. And it kind of all worked out where I pretty much went on a maternity leave early, somewhat unexpectedly, for my boss. He was not expected that I would leave earlier that he anticipated. And I was just so happy that happened and went on maternity leave. And I was like, well, I have all this time now to kind of just be stress-free and do what I kind of want to do and just see what I want to do. And at that time, I just started, looking for opportunities. And there was one blogger that was looking for a tech specialist, and they needed a bilingual person, which, I already spoke English and I spoke Russian, obviously. It's like, okay, well, I applied and I passed like 3 rounds of applications, and they called me and said, okay, we want to get you in. And I'm like, okay, great. And at that time, actually, to be honest, like I was terrified of actually making money outside of my paycheck, because you're going to laugh, but like I had the biggest fear of like, okay, if I make money online, if I take payments, from somebody else, like IRS gonna knock on my door. This was probably the biggest fear, like why I would not start an online business sooner or do something sooner. But here I'm facing, this opportunity. I know that I do not want to go back to work, especially work for the horrible boss. And I was just like, well, if they knock on the door, oh well. But guess what? They never did.
That's so funny. I think that you say, oh, we'll laugh, but I think that is sort of what holds a lot of people back. Not so much that they're afraid that like the IRS is going to come for them, but that they are like, I don't know how to run a business. So they have like some skill, like you said, you're really tech savvy, like you're great with computers, but they don't know how to file taxes, how to send invoices, how to like do any of that stuff. For me, like I went to college for graphic design and marketing. So I got that part down pat, but that's why I ended up hiring a business coach, was because I was like, okay, I can do the thing, but I don't know how to make that into like a legitimate business. So I think that's probably more common of a hurdle.
Yeah, maybe my fear was a little bit extreme and like very, like, oh my God, they're going to knock on the door. Oh my God, they're going to just take my house or whatever. I don't even know. But then now, I think, it was a legit, like you said, legit fear in terms of like not knowing how to do your finances, or even like how to do it, where do I send the money? How do I spend the money? How do I pay taxes? And like, you just don't know. But I think all those things, especially for us solopreneurs, they just come and you just learn them as you go. There's like really no way around. You just kind of have to learn certain things. If you don't feel comfortable with doing it, there's so many other solopreneurs in that area that will help you if you are, willing to invest. So yeah, but it was just an interesting fear of mine. That was just like, oh my God, I'm not going to do it because I just don't know how to file taxes.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good lesson, though, of like there are so many things that seem like so scary and that hold us back. And then once now you're, what you said, it was like around COVID, so you're 5+ years into business, and now you're like, oh my gosh, that was so silly. And I think it's hard, but if we can remind ourselves when we're having the fear that like, if I just do this, in 5 years from now, I'm going to think, oh my gosh, this was so silly.
Totally. So, it's so funny. I love that though. I love thinking of that fear as like, that's the most ridiculous fear, but like, hey, I had it. So I think it was just funny.
Awesome. Well, I love that origin story. I think that your start as an employee in America as a blackjack dealer is like so unique and interesting. So thanks for sharing that. So let's talk about online business. We're going to get into Kajabi here in a little bit, but a lot of our listeners might be using other platforms. And so I kind of want to talk about what things you see online business owners wasting a lot of time on frequently that we could automate regardless of what platform we're on. So what are some ideas for if we're new to automation, we feel like we're wasting a ton of time in our business? What are like some quick and easy things that you think everyone should automate in their online businesses?
Yeah, I think, and I'm guilty of it for sure. Definitely have spent a lot of time on onboarding clients. And that could be, either it's a one-on-one, either coaching or, providing service, done for you service, or if you're onboarding a client, maybe in a group setting, or even if it's a lead magnet, And by that, I mean like onboarding, you just don't onboard. Meaning like, okay, they're interested, they download something, and that's where it ends. So it's either you spend too much time or you don't spend any time and you lose them. So I think that one is kind of one of the biggest time suckers for online business owners, especially solopreneurs. So
yeah, that's actually a really good point that I didn't really think about until you just said that, of like automations are great because they help us work with our clients more efficiently, like save time. And so we're not repeating the same task over and over again. But they're also useful because they help us get new clients without having to put in a ton of extra work. So I think that's really important. For anyone listening, Nadiia came into the Six Figure Brand Society, I want to say a year, maybe a little over a year ago, and did a really great training on lead magnets and how to automate your like lead magnet funnel. So if that's something you're interested in, I will put a little coupon code in the show notes so you can join Six Figure Brand Society and catch that training. But yeah, I think things like lead magnets, onboarding is a huge one. I automate most of my offboarding, and I think that it can get really overwhelming for people of like, they just don't know where to start and they feel like, okay, I have a 20-step onboarding process. Like where would I even begin? So I think that's really helpful. Okay, so let's get into why we're really here to talk about Kajabi. So I will let Nadiia kind of take the reins with this, but basically Kajabi is an all-in-one platform that can host your website, your course, your membership. They also have a podcast feature now, which I've not tried out, but I'm kind of interested by. You could do your email marketing there. You could sell digital products. When they say all-in-one, I think they're one of the few platforms that truly do mean all-in-one. And that is the only platform that you really work in as far as like building things for clients. Is that correct?
Yes, almost. I would say that's the only platform that I specialize when it comes to, say, web design, automations, like any internal workflows, like you mentioned, podcasts, setting up coaching, different products, online courses, coaching, communities, doing email marketing. I do also work with Zapier, which I think we can touch base on a little bit later. But I also connect platforms with Zapier. So Kajabi would be the main. So like if you a Kajabi hero, we can absolutely work together. And then if you use other platforms, which is not, when we talk about all-in-one, you would expect, okay, it's an all-in-one. And I will stand by it. It really could be an all-in-one. But as businesses grow, and if you are managing, 1 million, a year and 100,000 contacts, it becomes a little bit challenging to keep everything in place, although I would say 80% of the operations stay in Kajabi. But there's some things that Kajabi does not have that you would want to, look for elsewhere. And that's where Zapier would come in and, connect all those platforms seamlessly.
Is your brand feeling a little off? Like your visuals, messaging, and your overall vibe just are not lining up with where your business is headed? You probably don't need another pretty logo. You actually need a solid strategy behind your brand. That's exactly what we'll build together inside the Standout Brand Strategy session, a one-on-one deep dive into your brand foundation so that you can finally show up with clarity, consistency, and confidence. And if you're thinking about working with Spect & Co. on branding or web design, this is your first step for every single project that we do together. Clients who have gone through this process have tripled their audience size, doubled their revenue, and raised their rates by 30% or more. Use the link in the show notes to book your session, and don't forget to enter code SFBPOD at checkout to save $100. Yeah, and I think that is going to be really interesting to talk about here in a few minutes. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into being like a Kajabi specialist and why you love Kajabi so much beyond just obviously that it's a really handy all-in-one platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to rewind back to that month or time where when I found my first client. And at that time, that client had her courses on Thinkific. It's also another platform for online courses. They more focused on the learning experiences as opposed to having all-in-one. They do have other things, of course, but it's more about the actual learning experience, Thinkific platform. And a couple of months, and they decided they were exploring other options because there were some limitations with Thinkific at that time. So they wanted to move their 2 courses to other platform, and they found Kajabi, and they were like, well, we are moving to Kajabi. You are technical specialist, you're pretty much going to be doing it, which I was fine with at that time. Trust me, any task they were giving me, I was just happy to do it because I knew my time was ticking for the maternity leave. And I just knew I had to do something. I had to expand my knowledge and all of this, in this industry. There was no way back. I was literally crying on the floor, telling my husband, I cannot go back to working at the casino. I just cannot. I will do anything. So, and that's what I was doing. Anything. They asked me to move courses. Yes. Heck yes. Let's go. So I pretty much was in charge of moving those courses, and I learned the platform pretty much as I was going through the motions, just learning little things. And what really, I think maybe the reason it really sparked my interest is that was an immediate comparison, or the difference between Thinkific and Kajabi for a tech person. Just Kajabi functionality seemed to be way more intuitive. The interface was way better. And again, I'm not shaming Thinkific here. It's just Thinkific is an amazing platform. It's just for me personally, I just love that change. It just seemed to have so many different options and just general flow on both admin side and user side. So I just kind of decided what if I just learn more, what Kajabi can do and offer those services. And that's exactly what I did. In a couple of months, I just was hooked. Honestly, I loved, literally going and reading through help center articles, how to. I just loved it. I still kept my services for Thinkific. I still was helping some clients with Thinkific. But about a year later, I kind of phased it out and stayed exclusively with Kajabi.
Yeah, my story with Kajabi is kind of similar. I had a client come to me that was like, hey, I really need your help. So-and-so said you're great, but my website's on Kajabi. Do you know how to work with that? And I said, nope, but I bet I can figure it out. And I'm a Squarespace girl through and through as far as website goes. And it was definitely a learning curve. But they have great help articles. Their customer service is really solid. And now I would say I'm 60-40 between building in Squarespace and Kajabi for clients. I have my website on Squarespace, but my membership, the Six Figure Brand Society, is on Kajabi. And I have a few clients who are set up that way. Typically, how that happens is we build their website, and then a couple years later, they say, oh, I want to do a course or a membership, but I don't want to move my whole website over. So that's kind of how we end up in that situation. Can you talk us through how someone would know if Kajabi is right for them? Because I will say, and this is not a criticism of Kajabi, the price point is a little higher than most other website builders. I think it is very important for us to keep in mind that it is not just a website platform. So you have to consider that it is a website platform, a course/membership platform, an email marketing platform, all of these things. So Kajabi is definitely on the higher end as far as pricing goes, depending how many contacts and products and stuff. I think their new pricing tiers start at $89 a month and go up to $300 or $400 a month. So it's not cheap. Can you talk us through how someone would know if Kajabi is right for them?
Yes, actually, this is such a hot topic right now because Kajabi just had their virtual summit last week and announced the price is going to go up, and they are already, higher for new customers. And for existing customers, they will rise in January. However, with that, they also introduced 10 plus different features that were not even a part of, you would not think that should be in all-in-one platform, but it is, which is kind of cool. And one of them is a mini chat version, where you can connect your socials, say, Instagram post, and connect it to where somebody comments with a specific word, say Kajabi, for example, and it will send them automatic DM. So it's called comment to DM feature, which I was not even expecting, for Kajabi to have that. But in terms of how you would know that, Kajabi is the right tool, I actually, probably 80% of the time when I am having discovery calls with potential clients, that question arises. And I have two answers to that question. One may sound a little silly, but sometimes you just have to go with your gut. Like, I sometimes use tools, or I don't use them just because they just don't feel right to me. They may have all the bells and whistles, and I look at it, and maybe sometimes it looks overwhelming. Yes, and by the way, things do look overwhelming. Things do look overwhelming to a tech specialist a lot of times. So if you are not a tech person and you feel overwhelmed, it's okay, because I feel overwhelmed quite a bit too. And sometimes they just, I don't know, even interface. Sometimes I just can't. I can't. And I'm just like, I'm not using it. That's more on a personal note. But as far as the business goes and your business needs, we would, in my discovery call, I would briefly ask the client what their, say, 6-month goal, 1 year goals, 3 years goals. And then if I see a pattern of the growth, like, okay, we want to start small, but here we at. And then we plan to expand to this, and then we plan to expand to that. That's where I would see, like, okay, Kajabi could be a good fit here. But if you are only trying to expand, like, say, your coaching, one-on-one coaching only, that may not be the greatest fit for you. As much as I love Kajabi, I will never sell it just to sell it, So I usually really try to see what is needed or what are the goals for that specific business and go from there. Also, as far as, if you don't get on the call with me or somebody else, you're just going to want to try it out, there's always free trials. And my biggest recommendation here, just spend some time on exploring. Just click through to see what it has to offer. Another thing, you are more than welcome to visit my YouTube channel, where I have a few videos breaking down literally every feature, kind of showing you what's possible. And with the new features that just came out, I also will, record more videos. But just YouTube it. Just see, there's so many different YouTube videos comparing platforms. I do have one comparing Thinkific and Kajabi, so that may be useful. Check it out. But just sign up for a free trial. Kajabi offers a 14-day free trial through their website, or 30-day free trial if you sign up through my link. Yeah, just explore the platform. Just see what it has to offer. And then if you do have questions, schedule a discovery call with me. It's like, hey, that's what we're trying to do. Will we be able to accomplish this with Kajabi?
Yeah, I think my short answer when people ask me that is basically, if you have any sort of digital product, course, membership, whatever, or if you want to have those things in the near-ish future, then go with Kajabi. But like you said, if you're just straight up doing one-on-one services and you don't have any aspirations of selling anything online, then you could probably get away with, I recommend something like Squarespace. If you prefer Showit or Wix or whatever, that's fine. And those are a little more cost effective. But if you are going to be selling digital products and you factor in, okay, well, I would need to pay for email marketing services, and I would need to pay for something like Thrivecart, and I would need to pay for my website, then going with something like Kajabi that really does have all of that all in one could probably save you some money. And a big thing for me is I want to log into as few places as possible.
Yes.
So that's
Amen.
nice.
Thank you.
And I think the best thing out of what you just said was the best tool is the one that you're going to actually use. So you had said, if you're just not feeling it or you don't like it or whatever, and people think, oh, that's a dumb reason. It's not, because you're going to think that every time you need to go create content on your website or add a new module to your course or whatever. And that's going to hold you back from actually doing the thing and growing your business. So even if it feels like a silly reason, if you just intuitively know, I don't like this and I'm not going to really use it, don't use any tool, not just Kajabi.
Correct. Totally agree. 100%.
Okay, so earlier you mentioned Zapier, and we talked about how Kajabi is a really great all-in-one platform, but probably even in a perfect world, you're going to need some other digital tools in your business.
As you grow, especially. Absolutely.
Especially as you grow, and that is the goal, right? Can you talk us through what Zapier is for some of us who are not familiar, and how you've been kind of incorporating that into your business and using it with clients?
Yeah, Zapier is a tool that connects third-party tools. Let's say if Kajabi, for example, does not have a direct integration with, let's say, MailChimp, right? And you do not want to use Kajabi's email marketing for whatever reason, and you want to connect it to MailChimp, or you want to connect it to, say, Calendly or TidyCal, whatever. So Zapier will be your tool to go and create that integration. A lot of times, if it's just a simple integration, you probably going to be okay with a free plan, because Zapier allows what's called single-step zaps, where you just take in a very simple connection between one tool to another tool. So you may not even need to pay for it, which is great.
Yeah. And just to be really clear for anyone listening who is like not familiar with either Kajabi or Zapier and is thinking like this is feeling really techie right now, Zapier works with all sorts of platforms. So it's not Kajabi specific. I just want to be like really clear about that. So for example, I am playing around right now with creating a Zap where when somebody books a project, it automatically creates a folder for them in my Google Drive. So that's not like something that me or my VA is having to do manually. So even if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, Kajabi is not right for me, Zapier might still be able to help you create some of those automations that we're talking about, save you a lot of time. And Nadiia is a great person to help you with that if you have questions or you want somebody to do it for you or what have you. Okay, last two questions, and then I want to talk about how we can hire you. First, what is your absolute favorite feature about Kajabi?
There's so many, but I think my favorite would be automations, and with especially using conditions. That's that's my jam. Like building the logic behind customer journey is probably my strongest skill. And just kind of like thinking about like, okay, well, somebody signs up, say, for a lead magnet. What's going to happen next? And then you have to consider, okay, are they a new client? Or they are past client. Maybe they're signing up for a lead magnet and they've purchased from you before. So you want to kind of exclude some things, but include other things. That's what the, logic comes in, the branch logic you can use. Actually, it's one of the newer features in Kajabi specifically. And just, set certain automations. And once you see that happening, like, okay, you say, build it out, you have a client or lead come in, and just like, oh my goodness, that actually worked. And that's it. And that it worked while I was sleeping. That's even better, So automations is definitely just being able to create it once and just watch it happen and work for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, especially in the online business space, I feel like I follow a lot of people who use Kajabi, so I hear this a lot. Maybe our listeners don't. But the idea is like make money while you sleep, like you just said. And that's why we love automations, and that's why we love Kajabi. And it is 100%. And you mentioned something that I want to like talk a little bit more about, of making the conditional automations and making that client journey really customized to each client based on where they came from, if they're a former client, if they click certain links on your sales page, whatever. Something that is really important to me as a brand strategist is client experience. And that starts before somebody's a client. So exactly what you're talking about. The more we can do to make their entire journey through your funnel feel like it's built specifically for them, the more they're going to feel cared for, the more they're going to feel like you understand them, the more they're going to trust you and want to give you their money. And the automations and like the conditional logic and all that stuff that Nadiia is talking about is a really, really great way to do that without creating a bunch more work on yourself. So I think that is a huge point about Kajabi that we don't really talk about enough. We say, oh yeah, it can make you money in your sleep and it can manage your email list and do all these things and it's all in one. But I don't think that there's enough conversation around like that it can help you support your clients in the best way possible that's going to make them feel really, really well cared for. And that's something that I care about a lot. That's the reason why I have my membership on Kajabi, even though that's not where my website is. And even though there might be other platforms I could do that on that would be cheaper, there are not other platforms that do as great of a job taking care of my clients as Kajabi does.
100%, Morgan. And I'm also going to add that I worked with dozens of clients, I have access to dozens of Kajabi accounts. And what I see many business owners don't do is using tags to segment their audience. I'm huge on segmenting, on the correct segmenting. I would rather over segment than under segment. I will put more tags than less tags on that person profile. And another one is actually not utilizing those automations. And I get it. Sometimes it's just because of lack of knowledge of, the platform. And that's where you may want to start thinking, working with somebody who specializes in the platform. And also, short note on that, choose a person who knows that specific platform. Do not hire a VA who's a unicorn in Kajabi, Thinkific, Kit, ActiveCampaign, Google Workspace, and anything in between. If you want your, say, Kajabi website or Thinkific or Teachable, Podia, wherever you are, to work Squarespace, if you want somebody to build the website on Squarespace, hire a Squarespace or Kajabi expert. Not, I know it all, but I don't know anything expert.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And that's why for the longest time, I was Squarespace only. And then once I got to a point that I felt like I had truly mastered Squarespace, then I felt like I was okay to layer in one more platform. I've talked about this, I think, on every guest episode that we've done so far, but also do not be afraid to ask people for examples of their work and what results they've gotten for their clients. I feel like when we're hiring, we get in this weird space where we don't want to ask a question that's going to make somebody uncomfortable or seem like we're being too pushy or whatever. But if you're going to give somebody your dollars to do a service for you, you are well within your rights to ask them to show you some kind of proof that they can accomplish what you're asking them to accomplish. I am not suggesting that you ask them to do free work for you or a test project or anything like that. But they should be able to show you the back end of their Kajabi website and be like, hey, here's what I did on my own website, or here's what I did on another client's website, and here's how that could kind of work for you. If they are resistant to that, that's definitely a red flag. So just a little note on hiring a Kajabi expert.
I agree.
And to your point about tags too, I just want to also be really clear that that's not a Kajabi specific thing. If you are not on Kajabi or don't want to be on Kajabi, all of everything Nadiia just said about segmentation and tags and customizing things for your audience can be done in whatever platform you're on, whether it's ConvertKit, MailChimp. I don't really know anything about Thinkific or Podia, but I'm sure they do something similar.
Yeah, it's pretty much every single
platform. But that is universal advice regardless of what platform you're on.
Yes.
My last question for you is not about a specific platform, but what is, if somebody's wanting to get started with Zapier specifically, what is one Zap that you think every business owner should have?
For Zapier specifically, what I really like is getting notifications about either a new sale, a new lead. So one of the coolest, I would say it's like a mini celebration for me. One of the coolest Zaps that I use for myself actually is that I automated a new lead, a new purchase to go to my Slack, to my personal Slack, it's like Slack bot. So it's just between me and the bot kind of channel message that, and also I put in something like, good job, Nadiia, you scored a new lead, or just this and, so-and-so just came in and purchased the XYZ. And that can be automated in, you can actually create a, specific or unique message that will go to your Slack. And again, it's a single step Zap, so it can be used on the free account, which is also cool. So that's one. It's not 100% that's something that you absolutely need, but I feel like that one is just the little thing that just brightens up your day, especially again for us being solopreneurs. Most of us, it's just woohoo! I got, somebody just checked out my website and signed up for something. How cool is that?
I love that. That's not at all what I expected you to say, but I think that's so fun. And I think that is also makes an important point too, that like, yes, the idea behind automations and all this like tech stuff is to save us money and make our businesses better, but it can also be really fun. And like you said, like I have my dog on the floor next to me. Like there's nobody to throw a party for me when I book a new client. So if you can like set up something to hype yourself up and make things more fun and get you kind of in that more like growth and abundant energy as you're working, I think that's a great way to use automations. It doesn't always have to be like stuffy and techy and boring. So
yeah, no, I have a lot, I have other suggestions for very useful and like, that must have, but this one in particular, and I think also, and I get it, many platforms offer where you have a new lead come in or new purchase to send you an email, but I feel we are also in our email so much, so that doesn't spark joy anymore. Like, okay, there's another email, okay, about the sale, whatever. But specifically going to like Slack, like, I don't know, that's just a whole different experience for me, getting that notification, but like, oh, it's not from a client, it's actually from my, saying like, hey, you have a new purchase and
it feels more fun and personal, and you can like get the notification on your phone if you want. I think that's great. I'm like gonna go do that after we're done recording. I think that's awesome. Cool. Well, before we wrap up, tell us if somebody's listening and thinking, oh my gosh, I need to be on Kajabi, or more likely I'm already on Kajabi and I'm clearly not taking full advantage of it. How can we work with you, Nadiia?
Well, thank you. Yes. So if you're new to Kajabi, you're thinking about switching, I recommend that you take advantage of my 30-day free trial as opposed to only 14-day on Kajabi website. So for that, you would just go to solositesolutions.com/Kajabi and read more about the offer and sign up through there. If you're already on Kajabi and you're feeling like Morgan said, not taking the full advantage of the platform or just not knowing, you have two options. You can either join my Kajabi Thrive Club, which is a monthly membership where you pretty much have the ability to pick my brain and shoot me an email, get in the office hours, which is twice a month, to kind of like, hey, how I can do this, or what are my next steps? So pretty much any questions about Kajabi and beyond, and that is automations, also Zapier, connecting anything. So that those the questions that you may want to ask. And another one, if you just need a 1 hour dedicated support, again, you already have your questions listed, and you can book a VIP call with me. And in 45 minutes to 1 hour, I will answer your questions about, again, Kajabi or any automations or business inquiries in general. So yeah, those are the ways you can work with me.
Awesome. Yeah. And you also do full, like, done for you.
Yes, I do.
Built in Kajabi. So if you have a big project, also reach out to Nadiia and she will take care of you. I will say I've been using Kajabi since maybe like 2022. It's been like a few years. Like I have my own membership in there. Like I get how to use it. And when I run into an issue with my site or a client site or whatever, Nadiia is the person I call, and she has not failed me so far. So highly recommend reaching out to her.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. That was a great conversation. I'm going to put all of Nadia's links in the show notes. Where's the best place for us to connect with you? Are you on Instagram, LinkedIn? I know you have a YouTube channel that's really great.
Yes.
But where
YouTube will be a best place to go check it out. And again, there's so many tutorials that I have published. So yeah, YouTube at Systems with Nadiia.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm going to encourage everyone to first connect with Nadiia, and second, go sign up for Zapier and make yourself a little celebration Zap. So thanks so much, and we will see you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Six Figure Brand Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to rate the show and leave a review on whatever app you're listening on. And as a thank you, I'll send you coffee on me. Yes, I'm serious. As a smaller show for now, you taking the time to do this makes a huge impact on how we can reach more people and how I can continue to create this content for free. When you take a screenshot of your review, follow and tag me on Instagram at @SpectandCo. I'll send you a $5 Starbucks gift card. As always, don't forget to check out the show notes for any links or resources I mentioned during the episode. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next week.